Hi everyone, this is Callie. Thanks so much for being here with me today. We're creating a Magnolia card using some Pinkfresh Studio products. So this stamp set here comes with a coordinating stencil set as well as a die set, and we'll work on that later. Right now we're going to focus on some hot foil. This is the hexagon hot foil plates, and I'm going to go ahead and get my platform hot and ready here. I do have it turned on and it is ready to go. Once I set my hexagon frames on here, I'm going to go ahead and hit that timer button. And once that timer button stops blinking, it'll be ready to go. So while that's warming up and making sure that the temperature is just right for our foil plates, we're going to go ahead and add our foil and piece of paper. And I'm going to add my glimmer hot foil plates on there. And then my timer is ready. I'm going to go ahead and undock it, run it through my die cutting machine, and then redock it. And then we have a finished foil project. This is for my background, so I'm going to go ahead and set that aside, and then we'll start working on our stamped image. I've placed the stamp, which is a whole stamp by the way. All of these images are connected. I've stamped it with Versaclear Nocturne ink, and it's a great crisp pigment ink, and then I'll go ahead and emboss that with a clear embossing powder to keep my outline nice and crisp. Okay, so now that my panel is all ready to go, I can go ahead and get my stencils out and get ready to stencil this up. There are 5 layers to the stencil set, and they're all numbered at the very top. I usually don't work in order. I like to start with my flowers and work from the base layer up, so sometimes that requires switching around on these stencils. I'm using Pinkfresh Studio inks today. This one is Coral Reef, and it's the lighter pink that I've chosen. So I'm going to add a nice layer all across the images without going all the way to the borders or the tips of the flowers, because I want to introduce some yellow. So after I finish with this Coral Reef color, I'm going to go in with Lemon Whip. This is a lighter yellow. And I'm going to use a smaller ink blending brush just to ink blend on the tips of all of these petals. I wanted a nice gradient from yellow to the coral color, and that's going to allow more interest in my flowers and make it a little bit more colorful. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the second layer of the stencil. This is Passion Fruit ink. It's a little bit pinker, a little bit darker, and I'm just going to intensify the centers of the flowers and blending it into the other portions of the petals. Then using some residual ink from my yellow brush, I'm just going to go over the tips of the flowers and petals again to intensify that yellow and to blend it into that darker pink. So our flowers are done, and we're going to go ahead and work on our foliage now. I have the base layer for all of the foliage, so that's the more open stencil on the leaves. And I'm going to go ahead and ink blend with my lighter green. This is going to be Key Lime ink. And I'm, again, just doing a solid layer all across all of them. And then I'm going to go in with my olive ink, which is a little darker, using the same stencil. I'm going to apply a deeper darkening area by the base of all of the petals. And this will just allow for a nice gradient when I use my next stencil, which is going to add more details, but it will blend together more seamlessly. When I lift this stencil off, you'll see that the colors blend together nicely and it's not too sharp of a contrast. All right, so now I'm going to add a little bit of brown. I'm going to use a bit of residual ink on my green blending brush to kind of add the color in at the tip towards where the green foliage is. It's kind of a more natural blend from brown to green. And then I'll apply some of that brown towards the center of the magnolia as well. And that'll finish my stenciling. I just need to die cut this. And like the stamp set, the die set is one piece as well. So all of the images can be lined up together at once and die cut together. It makes it super handy and convenient. Okay, so now we have all of our images ready to go. I can pull in that foiled frame now, and we can go ahead and kind of create our little hexagon wreath. And what I'm going to do is trim up this panel though, because the foiling is obviously not perfect. So I'm going to cut the sides off, making sure they're perfect before cutting off the top and bottoms. And now I'm just going to arrange my pieces where I roughly want them to go before adhering everything down. Now to adhere my images, I like to work on things in the background first. That way I can adhere them straight down onto the card panel, and then work on foam adhesive for the top images to make it look a little bit more dimensional and closer to you as a bouquet would be. I'm going to use some liquid adhesive to adhere the stems and foliage directly to that hexagon framed panel. And as you can see, when I pull images out to adhere them to the panel, I'm keeping everything else in place because I roughly want things to be in the same place when I go to adhere them down, making just minor adjustments if I need to change things up just a tad to make sure that I want it right where it needs to go. So when I'm done with all the glued pieces, I'm going to go ahead and use foam adhesive to attach my larger flowers and foliage. And that's going to create some dimension, and we'll finish off with this little leaf cluster right here. I'm going to emboss one of the sentiments from the stamp set. I have some black cardstock in my MISTI here, and I'll be embossing it with a white embossing powder. I'm going to prepare that with some anti-static powder tool before applying some Versamark ink, and then stamping that, applying that white embossing powder, and then heat setting my sentiment. I've got some residue on there from the embossing powder tool, so I'm going to go ahead and buff that off with a cloth to get that black cardstock to be nice and crisp again. I went ahead and trimmed my sentiment strip off camera, and now I'm going to add some foam adhesive and then use my T-ruler to make sure that it's nice and straight, and I'll go ahead and adhere that down onto my card. Now I'm going to go ahead at this point and attach this card panel to a card base. Then I can finish my card with a few embellishments. These are some gem stickers from Honeybee Stamps in the Aurora Borealis. So I'm going to go ahead and attach some, and then that will finish my card for today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you're interested in any of the products, be sure to check out the links below, as everything will be linked for your convenience. I would love it if you'd give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and be sure to check out more videos if you're interested. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. Bye, everyone.